Hello and welcome to our next webinar session. My name is Markus Florian, and we will be talking today about digital administration of sustainable smart buildings. So I'm very happy that today we have Jan Fredrik Haaksen with us from Zuhause Plattform. And we will then, of course, give you a detailed introduction to their solution and, of course, the challenges they want to address. So, yes, maybe I'll just do a brief introduction of myself. Switching on the camera if that is working. Yes, hello. Just wanted to say hi. So this is me, Markus Florian. I'm in charge of sales at EnOcean, based in Munich, in our headquarters. I'm switching off the camera again so that we have a higher bandwidth, of course. Okay, so let me just start, and then, of course, we will hand over to Jan Fredrik so that he can give you a deep dive into his approach. So maybe just going to the next slide. Yes, here it is, the agenda. We will, of course, then have a brief introduction about EnOcean. Maybe some of you have already followed that, so it will be nothing new. For those who don't know us, will be a good opportunity to know more about us and our technology. Then, of course, I will immediately hand over to Jan Fredrik, and then, of course, he will then talk about the motivation of the approach he has with his solution, the challenges, of course, in the infrastructure and sustainable buildings. He will present some of the project he has already realized. And of course, we will be touching the benefit of energy harvesting sensors, of course, in the combination of their solution. And again, at the end, if you have questions, there will be a Q&A session. So if during the presentation you have already some questions, then please note them down and raise them to us at the end. And we will then respond as much as we can to your question. Yes, here again. So just a few words on us as EnOcean. So EnOcean, we are the leader in self-powered IoT solutions. And in that context, of course, what we do is we develop energy harvesting components, modules, and products which are optimized for use of standardized wireless protocols. In that context, of course, it's specifically the EnOcean protocol in the sub-gigahertz range, so where we use 868, for example, megahertz for Europe, but then 902, for example, for the US and 928 for Japan. But we have also added support for other protocols in the 2.4 gigahertz space. So these are specifically Zigbee and Bluetooth Low Energy. In our activities, I mean, we are now 20 years in the market. We start shipping products into the market since 2003, and we have shipped a double-digit million amount of products, which are used in well over 1 million buildings worldwide. So these are buildings ranging from small private homes, multi-store apartment buildings, but also used in office buildings, hotels, and hospitals. Our activities, we are active together with our partners worldwide. The head office is in Germany. We have, of course, the team around Europe. We have a presence in the US, and of course, we are also present in Far East. And our activities are then also supported by a strong patent portfolio. So, of course, we continuously innovate with our products, everything around energy harvesting, wireless communication, and together with our partners, we create these solutions which then can be used addressing the challenges in smart building, smart home, and so on. Yes, so that actually leads me already to the end of my introduction. I want to hand over to Jan Fredrik so that he can, of course, give you a deep dive. Thank you.
Thank you, Markus. Yes, my name is Jan Fredrik Haaksen. I'm the CEO of Zuhause Plattform. I also switched the camera off for bandwidth. So let's start with our motivation. Basically, it's the urbanization. I think you know it already. By 2050, 7 of 10 billion people will live in the inner cities, and the buildings in the cities doesn't look like the typical single-family house. So we address with our solution multi-family houses. This ongoing urbanization makes saving resources in construction, management, and usage of urban smart buildings highly important. And we are focusing on these 3 topics: improving construction management and usage. For example, one IP-based infrastructure in the building, digital processes around the building, and tools for the user of the building, the tenants, the residents. Our customers are the whole variety of the real estate business, and they're facing three main challenges at the moment: the climate change, the demographic change, and the digitization. And a smart building system can be a partial solution to these challenges. At the moment, we're a group of 4 companies, starting on the left with the Zuhause Plattform. With this company, we're in the 7th year, so not quite a startup anymore. With that company, we provide the smart building system. Right on the right, with the red logo, it's the Zähler platform. It's something like the meter platform, and we offering meter systems with this company. Beside that, it's the Heizkosten platform with this yellow gold logo in it. It can be translated like billing platform, and as the company name says, it's a billing platform for heat costs and water costs. And the newest company is the energy platform. With that, we offer technical building equipment. Okay, our customers are private investors, housing cooperatives, local communal housing association, project developers, so the whole variety of real estate business. In our solution, we use 2 communication standards. It's the EnOcean, of course, and wireless MBus for the meters and the smoke detectors. Okay, that's the heart of our system. It's Wohnungsadapter. You can translate it to a home connector. Every flat, every apartment has one of these smart building gateways. It's also the inner system, the inner unit for the intercom system, but also the connection to the tenant, to the resident. That are our outer units. It's house adapter in German. It's house connector. You can translate it. So a digital access control and intercom system on the outside of the building. And we have a light-wide infrastructure. There is 1 Cat7 network cable in new built buildings, and there's the connection to the Wohnungsadapter, so it gets the power and the data over this PoE network cable. And yeah, it's placed in the hallway near the entrance door, in the living room, and it communicates via radio, EnOcean again, and wireless MBus to the components like switches, heat valves, door handles, meters, and so on. Okay, but enough from us and about our system. Let's get to the main topic, to a digital administration of sustainable smart buildings. First of all, let's start with the latest legal requirements, and a short disclaimer, it's only a cutout, it's only an extract of a huge amount of bills, laws, and regulation and requirements linked to the energy topic worldwide in the EU and also in Germany. At the moment, the EED, that's from 2012. It's nearly 10 years old. There was a preparation time period, but from next year on, January 2022, there has to be shared a monthly consumption feedback to the tenant, and that affects all of our customers a lot. Then I'm sure you've all heard of it, the huge new European Green Deal from end of 2019, followed by a European Green Investment Deal from the beginning of 2020. That leads to a renovation wave in October 2020. Goal is to double the renovation rate to cut emissions, boost recovery, and reduce energy poverty. There's a plan that 35 million buildings in the EU should be renovated until 2030. So a huge amount of buildings. And Next step is the taxonomy for sustainable activities. It's a classification system established to clarify which investments are environmentally sustainable. So basically, how green is your portfolio? How green are the building? What's the CO2 footprint of your buildings in the portfolio or in the funds, for example? Yeah, and in Germany we implemented, of course, some own national laws based on this European Commission regulatives. First of all, there is Bundesförderung für effiziente Gebäude, BEG. You can translate it to Federal Funding for Efficient Buildings. There are high funding amounts for energy efficient buildings. For example, for existing buildings, it starts at 20% at a single retrofit task and gets up to 50% if it's embedded in a higher, it's called in Germany KfW standards. That's description of the energy standards of buildings. That's on the one hand, that are the new good news, and on the other hand, it's the Gebäudeenergiegesetz. It's the GEG. It can translate it to Building Energy Act, and there are the minimal energy standards for new buildings and the requirements written down. So next question is, after looking on that, what will future buildings look like? What will sustainable buildings look like? As a little example, KfW 40 plus multifamily house standard is on the left side. And therefore, you need the heat pump for heating, so no gas or oil-based heating system as before. The ventilation with heat or energy recovery, photovoltaic on the rooftop for generating electricity, power storage, of course, wall box for load management, visualization for the consumption and also the production in the building. So that can be done by our home connector. And you need also the communication. That's our house server here on the right side. To connect all these technical building equipment. So buildings will have a large amount of components to meet these regulations, to meet, for example, KF 40 plus multifamily house energy standard. And now we've brought some practical example. We've done a Wohnpark Mariendorf. It's a project from 2017, but we've won a prize for that in the last year, Best Smart and Sustainable Project in Berlin. It was a retrofit project. And yeah, we've implemented the intercom system, access control, communication with the facility manager, but also a smart heating management. And there are some or two interesting functions I want to have a closer look on it now. It's the limitation of the maximum value in combination with also the detection of the window opening. So when the window gets opened, the heat valve closes, and so there can't be a huge amount of waste of energy. Yeah, so no wasted energy in this solution. A limitation of maximum value, and also if the windows are opened, the heat valve closed. Yeah, we realized this function with EnOcean and with a window handle, a temperature and humidity sensor, and also a heating valve. And that's the handover to Marcus from EnOcean.
Yes, correct. Yeah, no, just shortly commenting, of course, what it all means. You've seen there is true 3 examples of what Zuhause Plattform did in integrating our technology into their system. And of course, the benefit is here that you can, for example, then benefit or take use of the energy harvesting principle. So really the advantage that you can create sensors which don't require any maintenance, and of course give you at the same time the maximum flexibility because they are communicating communicating via the EnOcean protocol in a wireless form. So maximum flexibility with the advantage of no maintenance. And then, of course, if you question what is the secret behind how can you create a product which doesn't require any maintenance, then there is today 3 main principles which can be used, and which is, of course, what we then develop with our technology and offer as components and modules to our partners. And the first is here, you see on top is kinetic energy. This is the Eco 200, we call it. This is an electrodynamic generator, which basically by pressing with some kinetic energy by the travel of 2 millimeters, you can create energy impulse, which then is generating energy to, for example, a transmitter PCB. So the most famous typical example is the switch. You see here on the left, on the right, sorry, the PTM module. So in this PTM module, which is our switch module, we have the Eco 200 integrated. And this switch module is then offered to our partners worldwide, which are delivering complete switch solutions. So we have various partners. For example, in Germany, we have Jung or Gira, which use our technology. In Switzerland, we have Feller. In Italy, we have Vimar. We have Nodon in France. We have Retrofit in the UK. So worldwide, also partners in the US and in Japan, which then use this technology as a basis to create a complete solution, which you then can integrate into your home. Another possibility is solar energy. In this case, we talk about indoor light, so that with that little energy you find indoors, you can also, by intelligent power management, which we provide, you can create sensors, which also don't require any replacement. And typically what you use here is PIR, so movement sensors, temperature measurement, CO2. So all these kinds of sensor activities can be covered with solar energy. Again, in combination with the advantage that you don't replace the energy, replace the battery. And the last one is thermal energy. So you benefit from the delta in the temperature. That is the so-called Seebeck effect. If you create a delta of typically 4 Kelvin, the Peltier element generates power, which you then can also store in some form of supercap in order to power your electronics. It's basically the principle you know from your cooling box. In the cooling box, you know that you apply power and then it cools down. If you reverse that effect and apply a temperature difference, then there's electrical energy coming out. And a typical application is heating valves. You see that here is basically the hot water which comes in with 50 degrees from the radiator versus the ambient temperature, which is 20 degrees. And with delta, you will have even enough energy to power a stepper motor to open and close the heating valve. So again, just to show you some examples. And now back to Jan again for continuing his presentation.
Yep. Thank you, Marcus. Yeah, that's the reason why we use EnOcean as a communication technology, but also the EnOcean based components. Because we are also focusing, of course, of no maintenance costs, and that brings us to the next topic. Monitoring system. Next practical example is our house server. You need the house server for the communication, for the network management in the building, but had some other tasks. For example, the monitoring of the technical building equipment. So there is a facility management portal in our solution, which is also included, and you can not only communicate with the tenant over the system, switch the names on the nameplate of the ring system, for example, but also have a huge monitoring system of your technical building equipment. That's at the beginning I mentioned smart construction and also a smart management of the building and digital processes around the buildings, and that's practical example for that. And on the left side, or that brings us to the digital administration of smart buildings. On the left side, you see a typical life cycle of a building. And yeah, the left side or the longest time period is the operating and maintenance. And for this time period, we provide digital processes around this building. For example, as mentioned here, but that's only again a cutout or a small extract, real-time ticket system. So for the concerns or defects of the tenant, they can write you about the system. They don't have to install some app or something like that. The apartment comes with a smart building system, and the smart building system comes with this real-time ticket system. Then provable announcements. That's the back channel if you want to. If there are any announcements in the year 21, no one has to drive to the facility to hang out some announcement in paper form factor. You can do this really by seconds, provable without any fossil energies, just digital over the smart building system. And our system is a platform for additional services. Over our infrastructure, we do also the meter readout and the consumption feedback in the flat. There is an alarm forwarding for leakage or smoke detectors and so on. As mentioned before, digital nameplates, changing the name if the tenants are changing of the ring system, and also access for service provider, so an access control system not only for the tenants and the residents, also for some service providers you use as facility management. And that brings us to a little survey. Alex, can you start the survey? Okay. I hope you see our survey at the moment. The question is, which digital processes would improve facility management? And there is a multiple choice. And it's the communication with the tenant, defects and concerns as shown. Is it the digital provable announcements? Is it meter readout and consumption feedback? Is it digital nameplates on ring system, or is it the digital access for service providers, for example? It's again, it's only a shortcut of possible functions around the building, and we recognize in our daily business different functions and topics are relevant for each customer. And for one, it's the access control, for example, and for another one, it's the communication with the and therefore, I'm looking forward to your response and the results. Yeah, we give it another, I think, 20 seconds, and then we close the survey. And then we see what the answers are. Okay, let's have a look on it. Okay, the chosen functions are mainly the communication with the tenant. That's the highest percentage. 67% are saying that's the main function, or that it would improve my facility management. Also, meter readout. I think that links to the shown EED regulation or requirement, and of course digital access to service providers. Yeah, that's also what we recognize in the daily business. Okay, thank you very much, and let's get on with the short webinar. We've seen all the function, all the topics, the requirements, the smart building technology for sustainable buildings, the monitoring system, the digital administration. It's all data driven, and I think you all know the saying, data is the new gold. And that's the next part of this webinar. In Germany, we have the ZIA. It's kind of central real estate board, and a large amount of real estate companies are member of the ZIA. 19% in our asset class, which we are focusing on. It's living or multifamily houses in the urban areas, and yeah, and the real estate business in Germany is generating 619 billion euros. It's around 20% of the value added of the whole Germany. And that CIA is publishing every year something like a digitalization report, and I found some interesting questions and answers. Number 9 was translated like digital technology, or please rate the statement. That's what's here said. Please rate the statement. Digital technologies and applications lead to a value-adding usage of data and information, and 95% agree or somewhat agree with that digital technologies and applications lead to value-adding usage of data. And I think that's a really interesting answer or outcome of this digitalization study, that 95% of the real estate business are capable of this knowledge or are stating that data have a value to their business. And next interesting question I found was number 13. Please rate the statement. Value of data and information is embedded to our culture, and 63% are answering I agree or somewhat agree. So large majority also are stating that the data information is also embedded in their corporate culture, and that leads the value of data, which is acknowledged, and also the daily business or the embedding in the corporate culture and the daily business. And that leads us to the question of data ownership. And there are two perspectives of this topic. In the apartment, we have personal data, of course, and we are in the EU and we are in Germany, and there are high data protection standards. Like in Germany is DSGVO, Datenschutzgrundverordnung. In English, it's like General Data Protection Regulation. And we meet these high standards, protection standards, for example, by a real-time consumption feedback in the apartment on the home connector, on the Wohnungsadapter, in real time. So every 5 minutes, some meters are sending their data to the Wohnungsadapter, and there it gets analyzed and visualized. But only cumulative values in the middle and in the end of the month are transferred to the backend, to the Heizkosten platform, the billing platform I talked before in the introduction. And that's only a basic example where we protect the personal data in the flat from the tenant. And if we focusing on the building itself, I think it's highly, or we think it's highly important for the owner to have the data ownership. For example, also a little short example, they discussed CO2 tax and CO2 footprint of buildings, and that will lead us to the question, what should we do with this cost? Is the cost allocation to the resident or the investor? Has the resident high consumption of the energy of the heating system, for example, or has the investor poor energy standard in its building? And therefore you need this data out of your building. And our perspective is that the owner of the building should also be the owner of the data, but not all systems are following these rules. Yeah, so recommendation from us, by searching for smart buildings system, have a look on their data ownership philosophy. Okay. What the future will look like, we don't know. Therefore, I'd like to end with a quote of Alan Kay. Best way to predict the future is to create it. And I to thank you very much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to answering your questions.
Okay, Jan, so thanks a lot for this very interesting presentation. I think you have a perfectly nailed basically the challenges which you find in this application environment. And so again, thanks for this very very interesting introduction and overview. So yes, as Jan was saying, we are now opening the round of questions, and just feel free to type them into the function here in the question function. So I'm just checking here. Yes, and see already the first questions coming in. And of course, I understand this question very well because, of course, Jan talked a lot about Germany. And of course, this is because he started the activities in the German-speaking area. But the question is here now from the audience, Jan, in which countries are you active with your product or solutions?
Yeah, as you said, Marcus, at the moment we're active in German-speaking, like Germany, Austria, Switzerland, but we are looking forward to get in touch with partners in other European countries. So if you're in the smart building smart building sector, if you're providing solutions for the real estate business, and if you're interested in partnering with us in your country, just get in touch with us. Just reach out to us.
Okay, great. Yeah, we have seen you have of course also included the contact details, and at the end that is again. So yeah, just let us know, either approach Jan or approach us, and we will then of course pass your inquiry to Jan as well. Okay, so thanks for this. Then I see already the next question in. Maybe I take one more because we are running a little bit out of time. So we are a little bit, so I hope you are okay that we're still overshooting this. So yeah, of course, we talked a lot about connectivity and wireless communication, which of course gives you maximum flexibility. But of course, it's always important also to understand what is the data backbone. And so here, the perfect question to you, Jan, is, do you always need a Cat7 network infrastructure?
No, not any longer. In the last month, we certificated we get the certification of our power line communication version of the home connector. We've working on that quite some time. So from now on, or I think it will be October when we can deliver the first version of the power line communication Wohnungsadapter, and then we won't need any Cat7 cable any longer. But just to make sure, for new buildings, our recommendation is always a Cat7 infrastructure. It's, I think, for the future the best way to build a building. But for retrofit projects, or for the whole already built buildings, we only need in the future two cables, or 2 wires, except of the 8 wires of a Cat7 cable. And we do not power over Ethernet over this cable. We do power line communication, and yeah, that's really really interesting to change without one new cable, retrofitting an old intercom system with the smart building system in the flat, of course via radio, EnOcean and wireless MBus, and to the home connector via only 2 wires. And I think that's a huge step forward. And that's the link to the renovation wave in the EU, where the goal is to renovate 35 million buildings in the next 8 years, for example.
Right. Okay. So great. Yeah. No, I also agree. I think there is some challenges ahead of us. We see, of course, the CO2 reduction goals being, of course, again accelerated. And so, of course, we then need, in order to reach those goals in Europe, but also in other regions, we certainly need solutions like the Zuhause Plattform, which facilitate that process. So no, I think it's a very, very good approach. Okay. So now we are, as I said, we are, of course, already at the end, a little bit overshooting. So if you have further questions, I see some more coming in, but again, we will answer them afterwards. Just again, also let us know if you have further questions, then just drop an email. You will also find a replay of this presentation on YouTube. So again, if you want to see it, hear it again, or if you want to tell your partners, customers, then just forward the link. Here is an outlook on the next webinar session we will be doing in July, 22nd of July, together with our partner vButler. And in that case, we're talking about enable smart buildings through digital platforms. So we are looking forward to also see you there and hear from you there. And I think then on the last slide, to conclude, I want again to thank Jan for his excellent presentation, and hope you could find something interesting here, and looking forward, of course, to hear from each of you very soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.